Did we just become best friends?
Oh, that was a perfectly timed subscription right as the stream started. Nice. Thanks, Mello, for subbing if you're here. I doubt you're here, but that's funny. Hey, what's up, David? Hello, Voltaire. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you guys. All right. I think we took care of all the housekeeping things. That's good. Oh, Twitch. Hello, Tyler. Good to see you guys. Tyler, thank you for being a member, man. Appreciate you. It's very kind of you. All right. Well, we're going to try to get back to the coding this morning. Yesterday, I streamed a little bit in the evening and learned a little bit about F sharp. But today, we need to get back to making some progress on our app, or my app. So that's what we're going to do. Good morning, Oblivious. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, good morning. What time do you go to bed to get up this early? So for me, it's actually not terribly early right now because we actually just had daylight savings and I overslept. So it's today, right now here it's 6:46 a.m. Normally though, I try to get to streaming at about 4:15 a.m. And I would say on average, I usually go to bed sometime between like 8, like probably more realistically, it's probably sometime between 8 and 10 or like 9 and 11, something like that. So it's not today. It's not terribly early for me, but yeah, normally I try to get up early and get it done. Honestly, if I had time later in the day, I would just stream later in the day. But I don't honestly feel good about streaming later in the day because that usually means then I have to ignore either I have to give up time with my kids or I have to give up time with my wife. Like not really give up time, but it just I'm not as available to them. If that makes sense. Hello, Maddie. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. It's been a minute. Hope you're doing well. And then the last tab, if we get to it, will be for Aspire. Good morning, 187. Good morning, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Okay. Let's go ahead and fire up NeoVim. The NimVim. The NimVim. We're gonna fire up NimVim. I'm fine, thanks. Good, good. Well, I'm glad to see you again. Hope life is treating you well. Welcome back to the virtual coffee shop. We got NeoVim, we got Terminal, we got Aspire. So let's go back to where we were. We were trying to build these builder classes. I think when I left, we were in the middle of doing this. I'm gonna delete that comment. That's stupid. Don't need that anymore. Let's turn this back to an institution. I changed my mind about this. This is going to be a late good morning indeed. Yes, good morning, good morning. It is later than normal. I overslept and then we had daylight savings and here we are. But good morning. Any advice? I tend to go to bed at like 2 a.m. most nights. So I honestly don't think it I don't know exactly why you want to get up early. I don't think there's anything inherently better about getting up early or staying up late. For the longest time, especially when after my kids were born, my schedule was stay up late, sleep in. That was my schedule. So before my kids were born, I always got up early. Then my kids were born, and basically getting up early was no longer really as much of a reward as it used to be because no matter how early I got up, my kids always seemed to wake up too too. And the point of like getting up early for me, the same way it is today, is to work on something that's important to like me, right? To kind of create time for myself. So I honestly don't really think it matters whether or not you do that by staying up super late or getting up early. If you do want my trick for going to bed at a decent time is not opening my laptop. So if the day winds down and my kids go to bed at 8 o'clock, if I stay away from my laptop, it's very easy to go to bed at a reasonable time. If I sit down on the couch though and crack the laptop open, 9 times out of 10, I get into something that I don't want to put down, and then before you know it, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm supposed to stream at 4:15. So that's my secret. Uh, I don't know if you're the same way, but that's how I am. I don't know why my highlighting's all messed up. Kurt's finally live. Sorry, yeah, I overslept this morning. I apologize for that. Daylight savings pain is real. It is real. It's a real shitty thing, and I wish we would just give it up already. Early bird gets the worm, I guess. But also, someone who stays up real late could also get the worm, you know? Wait, when do you go to bed exactly? Typically sometime between like 9 and 11 at night is usually when I'll get to bed. Let's see, this would be .build. This could be institution. 9 is a dream for the permanent underclass. I try and somehow it's always 11, making the sleeping hours like 5 to 5:30. Yeah, I don't really think that morally there's like a morally superior wake up go to bed time. I know like there's a lot of rise and grind porn on the internet, about like hustle porn if you will, but I just don't. As somebody who's done both, I don't think it really matters. I think what matters for most people is just creating that space in their day that's just theirs and that they can do things that they want to focus on, especially if you're a parent or maybe you're a caregiver or if you just have a lot of things going on in your life, super busy schedule and you have a bunch of responsibilities, just having that space to like work on things or focus your time on attention on something that just matters to you, right? Even if that's like playing a video game or making like leveling up your character in Hogwarts Legacy or like grinding rank on Call of Duty, or if it's coding, it's coding for you. Whatever it is, reading books. Like I just think having that space to feel like you have time to focus your time and energy on something that matters to you and makes you feel like you're making progress and getting better at something, I think is really valuable. And whether or not you do that late at night or early in the morning, or you have a split shift and you're able to carve that out in the middle of the day, I don't think it matters too much. 41 stream streak, poggers, nice. Congratulations, Blackfire. Thank you so much for sticking around that long and being so consistent. I appreciate you. Hell yeah, I woke up at 4 a.m. to play a Hogwarts Legacy. Fuck yeah. Right? Sometimes you just gotta grind, man. Alright, let's go back to the institution builder. I think I also screwed this up. I don't think I need this class. And I don't think I need it right now. Huh. Oh, I know why. I know why I changed my mind here. Because then what I can do is we can go back to the institution. Go back here. Remove this guy. Put this back like he was. Take that away. Remove this. Now we're all happy again. Go back here. And then, but back up at the user builder, what we can do is we can say, okay, for each institution, add the institution to the user, and then for each var account, yep, exactly. Thank you, Copilot. That was so helpful. Okay, and then let's see, institution builder, I think that's good. So we have with account, with metadata. We added the account to the user, we figured that out. Okay, so now we need the transaction, right? So we should have something that's like ab.with transaction, and then we should be able to give a transaction builder. And probably should be able to call transaction builder.with metadata like that. And I think that should take care of it. So let's make transaction builder.cs. I don't know how I haven't missed one yet. I guess our schedules have just lined up really well, you know? I mean, I appreciate you hanging around with me for so long, but definitely don't have any expectations that people do that. But I really do appreciate it. It sure does make streaming way more interesting, you know? Because when I started streaming, there was nobody here. And the fact that there are people here now actually makes it. I always say, like, chat makes the stream go burr, you know? Because without chat, I'm just sitting in a room talking to myself, which is kind of an interesting experience, honestly. Oh, I forgot my oranges. Hold on. I'll be right back.
I'd like to say something.
Hello, I am Chair.
All right. Hey, Mr. Maddie. I always miss the funny Texas speeches. Some of the best conversations are with myself, I think. Uh, I mean, the problem with that is like sometimes you need people to kind of challenge your opinions a little bit, you know, to tell you how stupid your idea is. Let's see. Do you think that it is a viable option to use the Azure free tier for a small website, personal one, or local sports club? Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've never done Statics. Well, I've never done functions before on Azure, but I have definitely used their static site capabilities, and I've used their Azure app plan. I've used their app, or is it app service? I've used that one a lot. The one downside of it is I'm not sure about static sites or functions, but the one downside with their app service plan on the free tier is it has a cold start problem, kind of like Next.js's free tier. So that's the one downside of it. But other than that, yeah, I think it's definitely possible to do that. The cold start though is the reason why I stopped using the cloud services or the free tiers on the cloud services, because I don't like the fact that people would hit my sites and it would take a minute to spin up. But that might not be a problem with a static website, I'm not sure how that works. It's probably been a year or more since I've used anything on Azure or even Vercel, or at least not used it, but deployed something there. It's been a minute. Hello, I am Einstein. Do you really think you're Einstein? Oh, was that because of because of the picture? Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Where was I? I need the integration test. So we're just going to copy this really quick. Put that there. Now we're going to make some classes or some fields. So we're going to say private string merchant name, private string description, private, I think it's a decimal, amount. I just share same birthday. Do you really? That's awesome. Ha! That's like a crazy, like, I don't know what the crazy coincidence. Now we need to add all the methods. So do public transaction builder with merchant name. This. This will be with description. Okay. And then amount. Public transaction builder with amount, decimal, amount, this. Transaction builder with, what was the other one? With date, time. And the last one was metadata. So public transaction builder with metadata. And this is going to be very similar to this one. So this will be transaction builder. And this will be transaction metadata builder, which we don't have yet. But we shall make it so. This becomes that. No, you're unhappy. Okay. In which case, then here it just becomes return transaction.from. And we have our merchant name. We have our description. We have our amount. We have our date. We have our metadata. Oh boy, we're almost getting to the end of this pattern. So now we get to the... I still think this would be a perfect thing to implement with a source generator. And I kind of want to go explore how to build one of those. os dot infra dot s integration. So do public namespace. Oops, public, or sorry, not that, internal sealed class. Hello, D. Good morning. Good to see you. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're living our best life here.
Did we just become best friends?
TWIG, thank you very much for the follow on Twitch. That's very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Thank you very much. Why is this so cozy to watch? I don't know, but thank you for saying that. We're trying to make a cozy place for people to hang out in the morning. Or I guess it could be the evening your time. We're just trying to find a place for people to chill and maybe work on their own projects, you know? Sometimes we can crash out about AI together and have a good laugh. We've been doing that quite often on stream, actually. It's a good time. It's a good time. Private read only string. No, it's not read only. Sorry, string underscore plaid ID, and then we're gonna have a let's see, public. With plaid ID. on null. Oh, yeah. Let's get these defaults. We forgot to do that for the other class. Oh no, it can't be. Okay, so back here, you should now be happy. Now if we go to the top, this should be whatever this was. So this should be merchant name, description 100. Okay, and then I guess this one will be null. And so then we're just going to follow that same pattern that we have on the other builders, where if you try to build it before it is called with metadata, we're going to throw an exception. Where is it? Where can I find it? Here we go. Let's see, builder. Nope. There we go. You must call with metadata prior to building. Cool. Now in our integration test, everyone should be happy. The only people that aren't going to be happy is, so we took care of this. This is not good, right? With transaction. Why doesn't that exist? It doesn't exist because I didn't put it there yet. So we need public account builder with transaction takes an action of transaction builder. We'll call that action. This will be set to null, which makes this delegate nullable. We then return. I just need to spell things correctly. Center this, and then we'll say return this, and then we'll follow that same pattern just up above. This would be transaction builder dot create. Then we will say give me the action to invoke on the builder, assuming it is not null. Then we will set transactions dot add tb build like that. Now we don't have a list there yet, so we'll say private read only list of transaction. Call that transactions like that. Then before we create the account, or before we return the account, we'll say account return, or return account. We'll say var account equals, then we'll loop, and we'll say for each var transaction in underscore transactions, we want to call the account dot add transaction like this. And then we want to propagate this up the tree. And if I recall, I don't think, let's see, institution builder, I don't think, let's see, institution, Yeah, I don't have an add transaction method there, but I do have one on the user builder or the user. So if we go to the user builder, then when we're building each account, okay, I know there's a bunch of nested loops here. Get off my back. So let's hit var transaction in account.transactions, and then we'll say user.add transaction like that. And honestly, there's probably a way to just not have so much indentation here. Probably use some link method or something, but this is fine. It's very explicit. We're just propagating those objects up the graph and tying them to the user. So hopefully we should be able to come back and get rid of these. And somebody's not happy. Is that you? Yeah, you're not happy. Yeah, I like that. IDE 053. What is that rule? Let's see. Let's go back to the top. Analyzer. IDE. It's like when I think there's a way to configure this. You can say IDE 053 when on a single line, I think is IDE 053 C#. Yeah, you can say when on single line. When on single line, and I'll say suggestion. And we'll give LSP restart OmniSharp like so. Anyone watch the F1 race? I do not watch racing much. Growing up, my dad was really into NASCAR, so I watched a lot of NASCAR growing up, but I don't as an adult, and I haven't got into F1 really. The only thing I know about F1 is like their cars go insanely fast, and at times can become airborne. That's about the only thing I know about F1. I do know that F1 kind of culture has become pretty popular, hasn't it? Like they had didn't they have a TV show or something, some sort of reality TV show about the racers? I might be making that up, but I thought there was something like that happening. All right, so let's do commit, test, should be info.test, added builder classes for creating test entities. All right, so I know, okay, so I know about that. So now I need to figure out where to pick this up. I think the best place to start might be just to see what tests are currently broken. So let's do that real quick. Let's do .NET test, and let's just see what happens here. Yeah, drive to survive. It follows the teams across the season. Nice, very cool. Yeah, not really my sport, but I can see the appeal. Oh, they're not happy about what I wrote there. When on single line. Oh, I can't do a suggestion. When on single line. There we go. Try again. Are you coding in Vim? Raz attack? I am coding in NeoVim. So sorta kinda. It's like a better version of Vim. What the hell? When on single line. It's literally what this says. When on single line. Prefer expression bodies for lambdas when there will be a single line. Oh, I know. Okay. I put it in the wrong place. Prefer, or sorry, expression bodied lambdas. There we go. Change this one to when on single line. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, we'll come back. All right, so we had some tests fail. 2 tests failed. And why did they fail? So expected problem.errors to be a dictionary with 4 items because the validation error should match the expected dictionary, but it misses key account currency code. Okay, so that's an intentional thing I broke. So that's in our API tests. That's on the add when called without required information. When called without required. There we go. So I took away, I'm pretty sure I took away the need for this. And now that endpoint just, let's see, accounts, add. Yeah, okay. So let's rerun the tests. That should, well, let me make sure I write it out. .NET test, go again. Saying in Vim is better than Vim are fighting words. Thank you. I coded Notepad. Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, Notepad's, there's nothing wrong with Notepad. It's a little painful experience in my opinion, but I kind of like all the nice bells and whistles that NeoVim provides me. I don't think I would ever just code in Vim myself, but NeoVim kind of is nice because you can make it, you can basically have sort of a VS Code-like experience, but in a terminal-based editor, which I like. How hard is it to set up NeoVim in Windows? Does it need WSL, or can it just be natively with a package manager if that exists in Windows? Oh yeah, for sure. You can just do it natively. They have an installer. Let's see, NeoVim, Windows. I think I just installed it actually myself with Wingit. I think you can install it with Wingit. They have a download, but you can see they've got a Wingit installation. If you prefer Chocolatey or Scoop, you can also use Chocolatey or Scoop. I use Wingit for most things on Windows. But yeah, it's not difficult to set up at all. Good morning, Rockin' Brain. I'm doing well. Good to see you, man. I'm doing well. Just having a little later stream this morning. Well, I overslept a little bit, and then we also have daylight savings time happening today. So really, it is 6:30 in the morning, but it's actually 7:30 now with daylight savings. Or am I saying that right? Daylight saving? I don't think it's supposed to be plural. Daylight saving time. Yeah, so daylight saving time. It just started. Which is stupid. I wish we'd get rid of it. But I don't know. I'd probably be an old man before they figure that out. All right. What was the other test I broke? Let's see, expected updated user.accounts.firstBalances to contain a single item, but the collection is empty. So we're looking for when called with new account. When called with new account. All right, let's see what the problem is here. Okay, so it's not gonna contain the balance information anymore because that's happening. That's happening in a separate. That's all being queued now. So, if we go to the add account endpoint now.
Did we just become best friends?
Nathan, thank you very much for the subscription. Nathan, did your name say Nutty Brand or something? Nutty something? Hold on, I'm gonna look it up on my activity feed. Nathan Nutty Branch. Nice. Do folks call you Nutty Branch, huh? That's pretty funny. Yeah, so this is all happening in the queue now. So we need to just remove that assertion. For now. It would probably be good to see that queue is actually called. Yeah, I don't know. I have to figure that out. I haven't really thought about how to test that yet. But the test itself isn't broken. So let's go back here and just remove this guy. Alright. .NET test. Should be good now. There's a Windows install. Yeah, you can set. I just use winget install neovim. Neovim.neovim. And it works. No, what's happening? Oh, am I trying to run it in 2 different places? Whoops. Cancel that one. Oh no. There we go. What the hell? The process cannot access file. Oh, there's contention for a DB. The process cannot access file. It is because it is being used by another process. Huh. So I guess I need to handle that as part of the teardown. System.io exception. And that's where we're deleting the file. Where are we doing that at? We're doing that in integration test, dispose async. My integration test. Ensure deleted. Asynchronously ensures the database where the context does not exist. If it does exist, no action is taken. If it does exist, then the database is deleted. It is common to use ensure created. So I guess if it can't delete the database, I don't really want it to fail the test. The question is, which test is it failing on? Okay, 2 tests failed. I'm not sure why 2 tests failed. Navigating, waiting until load. So I think what's happening is because all right, so let's see if I can fix this. I think what's happening is that that method, because it's in queuing something, the queue processor is trying to process it while the like in a separate thread in a separate context, and that's the thing that has the database file open. So I think what I want to do is let's go to our test API. And there should be, let's see, integration test. There should be a way. Where is it? When called with new account. When called with new account. So what we're going to do is, instead of using the existing client, we're going to try something a little different. So we're going to say var mock queue equals new mock. And let's go back to the add endpoint.
Did we just become best friends?
Info for investment. Thanks for the subscribe. Doesn't sound like a channel that I would think would be interested in what I'm doing, but thank you very much. Thank you very much for the subscribe. Appreciate it. Oops. That. I'll have to bring in some musings, I think. Okay. And then what we need to do is we need to say,
JT to have fun cheer 100.
thank you, Voltaire, for the cheer. Appreciate you. Have a good day, man. Super kind of you. So var client equals test API. So I guess what I want to do here is I want to say public, or actually this should actually be protected, shouldn't it? Protected, and this should be protected test API. So we'll do something like this: test API dot configure. Oh, can it not tell that that's a member now? I can't tell. Let's just do that. Just want to see if this works. So we do API dot with web host builder, and then we can do create client off of that, and then in the builder we can actually do this. So we can basically further customize it to the needs of our test. So we can say, okay, in this case, in this test, I actually want to mock the queue. So I'll say whb.configure test services. And this takes another lambda, which is a services configuration action. And so we'll say, or this is just, I guess, S. We'll just do S. Then we'll say s dot add scoped, no, singleton. And we'll overwrite, so we'll say I async queue sync updates queue item. And we'll say mock queue dot object dot object. Okay. And then somebody's not happy. Why aren't you happy? Oh. Semicolon. So then instead of using this client down here, we can use the client that's specific to our test. And then we can also say, let's see, we can say mock queue dot verify that the mock m dot queue in queue async let's see, is that a thing? Sync update, there you go. I forget how to do this. I think you gotta pass it the number of times or something. That. Alright, let's see if that works. Hopefully that fixes the one. Can you show inside the HTTP builder class? It looks very clean the way you did it with the builder pattern. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a nice little quality of life thing whenever you're having to build tests like that. Let me see. Where is it? It's in infra, I think. Yeah. So basically, I have an internal sealed class. I like the builder pattern for testing. I just implemented a bunch of builders for test data too. I just think it's a nice way to write tests for like setup and tear down stuff. So you can see I've got some fields here, kind of the basic building blocks of an HTTP request. And a lot of them, some of them have defaults like the collection, the method, and then the other ones are just nullable. So they start off null. Then I make the builder private, so you can't actually like new up a version of the builder without going through this static new method. And the whole reason for that is just to force people to, or force yourself, I guess in this case, force myself to use the Fluent interface to do all the setting. So this is a pretty typical builder pattern. So you basically have the builder that holds individual fields of things that you want to like stack up to the final thing you build. And then you just expose methods, these nice little helper convenience methods that allow people to set those fields from the outside, right? So you can almost think of these as like setters, basically. And then you can come down here to the very bottom and say build. And then build can have some, in my case, I just added some validation logic to say, hey, if this field is null, then you've got a problem. Basically, to basically tell people like you've got to set some of these fields in order to properly build. Now, if you were doing this for real, like if you really wanted to build like a proper interface and ship it in like a library, what you would do is instead of doing this type of validation, right, is you would actually create interfaces that don't expose the build step until the object is actually valid. It makes for some other boilerplatey code, but what I mean by this is if we go back to like a test class where we're using this up here, right? See, like immediately after I call new, I can also call build, right? And you shouldn't be able to do this because we know that without calling certain methods on the new or on the builder, this is going to throw an exception. So what we should do is we should basically have an interface that makes it impossible for people to make that mistake. So it should be something like request equals HTTP request builder dot new, and then off of this, they should only see those with methods. Like they should only see these guys. And then if they were to expose, let's say if they were to set like with method, then they still shouldn't be able to see the build, because we know in order for this to be valid, they should have to call with URI. And you can do that using interfaces, but it does lead to a little bit more boilerplatey code. And when I say using interfaces, what I mean is you could have something that says, you could have an interface that's called interface HTTP request builder with, let's say you start with this, and this only exposes, let's see, this would only expose an HTTP request builder. And so you could have a new object, and then you could also have a what is it? You could have a with URI, and then you could have another interface that's HTTP request builder, and for lack of better naming, I'll just say valid, right? That exposes the final method, which would be build, was HTTP request message. And so you'd only return this interface from the methods once this builder is actually in a valid state, instead of using like guard clauses to block against it. I mean, it's not that one is wrong or the other, but like if you already know that a user shouldn't be able to do something, you can just block them from doing it by using that interface, because you never expose it to them when the object is invalid. What's a nice little pattern? Cyberlanka. Oh no, I missed the start today. No worries, man. You're here now. I'm glad you're here. Hope you're doing well. Okay, I think our test passed. Let me look. Oh, nope, it didn't pass because we're not authorizing the right client. So where... Oh, does this overwrite the... Well, that kind of sucks. .configure. Okay, so I guess because I configure web host. So what I want to do is I basically want a way to inject that mock client. So what's the best way to do that? So if I have the API, I can start service factory services.add. No. Create scope. No. So I basically need a way to swap out the currently registered iAsync queue. Creates a new web application factory with an iWeb host builder that is further customized by configuration. I wonder, does configure test services, if I call this multiple times, does that overwrite the call? We need to do a little bit of research. Let's see, configure test services. Overwrite. This method runs after allowing to replace or modify existing registrations. Let's just test something really quick. So let's remove this call. Let's rerun our test. So if what I'm thinking, it should still fail, but it should fail for a different reason. It shouldn't fail for a 401. It should fail because of a database contention issue. That's what I'm hoping. Nope, it still failed 401. Huh. With user ID. I might need to debug this because I don't understand why it's not working. Alright, debugger time. Making AI? No, unfortunately I'm not smart enough to make AI. I'm just coding like a caveman. Where are we at? When called with new account. when called with new account. So this should work. The question is, why does this user ID not give us a valid ID? So let's open up add endpoint. There we go. Let's set a breakpoint here. And let's try to step through this guy. See what happens. Okay, so it does make it in there. So let's step over. Okay. Step over again. User is null. Huh. So we can't find a user with that ID. That's weird. Okay, why? Why? I wonder if it's because we're talking to two different databases. Is that what's probably happening? So we have a database connection. Yeah, that's probably actually, now that I think about it. Okay, let me just to test that theory. Let me go back to NeoVim. Why are you complaining? Let's test that theory real quick. So let's set this back to client. Like that. And let's run that single test again. So this would be add tests. I think this might actually still fail for database reasons, but I don't think it's going to fail because it can't find the user. Oh no, it failed because the mock wasn't called. Which it won't be because we're not injecting it. Alright, so then how do we use Yeah, so that okay, so how do we then use because it's a different host. It almost needs to, it almost feels like this test API class needs to become a private field. I mean, we could pass it in. We could pass something to this execute async. Is what we could do. I didn't think about this when I wrote this class. I didn't think about this case. So basically, I want to be able to create a different host than what was passed in. But I want to be able to call this execute async method, which is using this test API. I guess I could lift these execute async calls to the web application factory itself. Huh. I don't know how I feel about this. The word async is so scary. What do you mean, man? It's asynchronous. I wonder, eventually, I think that'll probably go away in C#. It's kind of interesting. That was a naming convention for a long time, but I kind of feel like in today's world, you don't really need to add async to the end of a lot of method names because almost everybody nowadays is developing most things asynchronous anyways. But it's kind of just it's a holdover, I think, of a bygone era. All right, so here's the deal. These methods probably should get lifted out to the test API class. So why don't we go ahead and do that? So what we'll do is let's just lift these out. We'll have to do quite a bit of refactoring actually, but I think this makes the most sense. So let's copy those. And let's go back to the test API class. And let's just paste those in there for now. And we're not going to call this protected. This will just be a public method. Public. Well, hold on. Actually, hold on. Before I do that, one sec. What does this return? That returns what does this return? You return a web application factory. which isn't gonna have X. Damn it. Okay. I need to think about this a little bit more. So basically, I need to get access. I need to call these methods on the actual web application factory. Can I override? Let's see, pub or protected. Public, I guess. Public override with no, can't. With web host builder. So that is defined on the web application factory. So I wonder, can I wrap this then? Let's see. So if I did something like this, where I say public test API, and I said with web host builder, I basically match the signature of that same, what are we, action, then I say return with web host builder configuration for base dot. Okay, so hold on, let me reframe this problem. So the problem is when I call execute async, it uses this instance of our test API. But when I want to do a mock, or I want to do some other further customization, then this is a whole, when I call with web host builder, that returns me a new thing to work with. And what I'd really like to do is I'd really just like to mutate the existing, is what I'd like to do. So maybe then we're going about this backwards. So let's go back here. And let's say I wanted to do something like public, but it's that's the problem. The test API is a fixture, so it's shared across all the classes. So if I mock the queue, that's not ideal. So it really needs to be a new version. So can I do something like test API copy return, oops, return this dot there's the services. Factories? What's this? I don't know what that is. I've never seen it before. Configure web host. Create host. Create host builder. What does this do? Let's see. Create a host builder used by test server. No. So. I know what I want to do. I just don't know how I want to do it. Saw you had a cheeky F sharp session. What was your verdict? I don't think I have a verdict quite yet on the F sharp thing. I think it's an interesting language. I can see the value in it from a kind of functional programming perspective, you know? I don't think it's not like world changing or anything, right? I didn't have some epiphany moment where I was like, this is how I should have been writing code all along. But it was very interesting. I like the pipeline operator was kind of cool. Yeah, I can see why people want that feature in C sharp. But yeah, I think I might play with it a little bit more, you know? I don't think it's going to be a language like I actually dedicate a ton of time to, but it was fun to poke around. Let's see. I just have a question about .NET Framework. If I'm kind of familiar with Java Spring, then would it also be easier to learn .NET as well? So I've never written any Java before, but I've read some Java, and based on what I've heard from chat, they tell me that Java, because C sharp kind of came about as a reactionary force to Java, to me it seems like there's a lot of familiarity there. And so I think from a syntactic language perspective, there's probably some carryover, right? Now, I'm sure there's some implementation details. Like I don't know anything about the JVM or how it works, right? And so there's for me going from C sharp or .NET to Java, there's probably a learning curve still. But purely looking at the programming languages and the syntax, I think you'd be able to pick it up pretty easily. But again, take that with a grain of salt because I've never written any Java. David Bailey, unions. Pipeline is nice, but reminds me of R. So I've never written any R. But yeah, unions were cool. Discriminated unions are always cool. I can't wait till discriminated unions come to C sharp. Apparently, we're supposed to get them, I think, in C sharp 14. Supposedly, we were supposed to get them in C sharp 14, and supposedly they've just been moved to C sharp 15. Let's see. Yeah, C sharp unions are expected in 15 or 16. I guess this was August of 2025, but is this it? They have a spec now for it. Here's the current working proposal. Yeah. But this is the idea, I guess. You'll be able to declare a union like this. Which I think is cool. I'll be very happy to have this. C sharp lang. Discriminated union epic. See, this is their meetings from last month. Union patterns update. Let's see, spec, working group notes. It's kind of cool that they make all this publicly available. So you can actually see them working on this stuff real time. What is champion issue? Must be like the high level. See, a set of interlinked features that combine C# support for union types, including a declaration syntax and several useful behaviors. This is going to be so cool. And it is going to support exhaustive checking. I'm going to bookmark this. Or how do I like watch it? There's some way I can watch it, right? Yeah, subscribe. Java to C# is so tough. Had to sell my whole... What? What does that type of collection have anything to do with learning C#? I mean, I'm not going to judge you for what you like to do in your own private space. Just seems like an odd comment.
Kelsey says, why did the bicycle fall over?
I don't know. Why did it? Also, good morning. I woke up late, so I started streaming kind of late.
Kelsey says, because it was too tired.
I'm gonna put that one in my dad jokes collection. That's funny. Who is this Kelsey Freeborn? She sounds like she's probably pretty cute and kind of funny. Good morning, Minister of Defense. Let's see. What's your opinion on enterprise companies that leave testing behind in order to meet deadlines? I personally build tests on weekends since it's the only time I have left. Great content, by the way. Well, thank you, Victor. I think that that's a reality of the world. And I think if you work for a company, you're at the end of the day beholden to the company and what their priorities are and how they operate. And I think while internally you can definitely be an evangelist and be a champion for testing, I wouldn't expend too much of your mental and emotional energy on it, right? You're there to get a paycheck and earn a living and gain some experience, but I think it's a sad state of affairs. I think a lot of times testing is often dropped. Here's my diagnosis of the root cause. The root cause of the problem is that most enterprise solutions are built without testing being in mind. And so a lot of the code is built or written in such a way that testing is very, very difficult and hard. And because writing tests is difficult and hard, people don't want to do it, and they come up with the reasons and excuses why they can't do it, or why they don't want to do it, or why it will take too long to do it. And so then it gets left on the side of the road. And then that problem just compounds over time. The more code that's added, the more the architecture shifts, or new patterns are introduced, or old patterns are left behind. It just compounds and compounds and compounds, which is unfortunate. But it just kind of is the way it is. But I admire you for taking your own time to write tests, because I will have to admit, if I had to develop or write code in a code base where there wasn't any feedback from tests, that would be very stress-inducing. So I admire you taking the time to add them, but there's not much you can do, right? You're kind of fighting an uphill battle, so it's hard. Neil Thompson, tech debt. Yeah, it's tech debt, right? It's tech debt. I mean,
Kelsey says you woke up late because both your phone went off next to me, and I thought you were already up. Alarms going off on daylight savings time is just rude.
I'm sorry. I know. I usually, whenever I get hot and leave the room, I try to usually take my phones with me, but I forgot. I'm sorry. All right. Back to trying to solve the problem at hand. Love you, honey. So the question is there a way that I can take my web application builder, or sorry, web application factory, and create a new instance of it? So test web API inherits from web application factory, and public void test. If I say return base.with web host builder, this returns a web application factory program, which I feel like I should be able to say is a test API. Okay. So we need an action, or we need one of these. Now what are you saying? Creates a new web application factory with an iWeb host builder that is further customized by configuration. With additional, I'm just gonna say with config. So let's see if this works. So instead of saying this, we'll say with config, which then returns me that. Now this is gonna still fail, but hopefully it does run. Then what we can do is we can move the execute async methods from here, and instead of calling test API.services, we can just call services, is what I'm hoping. Oh, here we go. It did not work. Unable to cast object of type delegate to type delegated web application factory to type physical OS. Okay. So you return a web application factory, but we can't cast the program to test API, even though test API inherits from web application factory program. All right, I think it's time to talk to AI because I'm not sure. I need to rubber duck on this. Copilot. We want it's mvc.testing or something like that. This is the thing that has the web application factory in it. Web application factory. Nope, that's not what I want. Not looking for that. I'm looking for you. So you exist in this package. Okay, let's talk to you directly. All right. Okay. This factory exposes a with web host builder method. Its return type is web application factory of T. I have
Did we just become best friends?
Type. Thanks, Fishy. I think it's Fishy for the follow. Appreciate that. Rubber duck. Yeah, sometimes you just got to talk things out. Yo, man, been seeing your shorts a lot on my feed lately. Good stuff. Keep it up. Thanks, Wuzzy. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you to stop by and say that. I plan to keep making content on YouTube as long as I enjoy it. But as soon as it becomes kind of a burden or like a chore, then I'll probably take a break. I took a break from making content on my YouTube channel for about 2 years. But right now I'm having fun with all the programming and coding stuff, so we'll just keep doing that, keep streaming until it, I don't know, until I burn out, I guess. I have a derived type, and I want to add methods to that derived type. And I want to add a method to the derived type that wraps the with web host builder method. Trying something.
Did we just become best
like
friends?
This. Getahoon, I think is how you say your name. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Whoops, I gotta do leader W. That is currently not working. Thoughts. Okay, see what AI has to say about this. Sounds like a good plan. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I still have like 20 more years of working. I'm 32, and I have about 20 more years of working till I get to, hopefully, till I get to a point where I don't, or where work kind of becomes optional. So we'll see. So you need to override. The issue is that web creates a delegated web application instance, not an instance of your derived type. You can't cast it to test API. A simpler alternative, accept the base type. A much simpler approach avoids this complexity. If you want true fluent chaining with your derived type, consider this pattern. Well, this doesn't work because by the time I need to call this this has already been called, so that's not going to work. Sorry, Copilot, that's not going to work. With custom setup. So I kind of like this idea, but I want it to be a new instance. Create a new instance of your derived type, not base, pass through the factory methods, chain the existing configuration. Oh, that looks like more work than it's worth. Okay, see, I think you're missing a point. I already have an instance of the test API, and I essentially want to create a new version of it with additional configuration, just like the existing with web host builder class does for the web application factory type. I just want the type to be the test API type so that I can access its methods in my tests. I don't like any of its ideas so far. My first time seeing someone use GitHub Copilot on a browser tab. Oh, really? Yeah, I do this all the time because I kind of like the fact that it can have the context of the repo, or in this case, it's actually a specific file without me having to pull the code down locally. So I kind of like doing it this way. Let's see. I understand now. You want to create a new instance of test API so you can continue chaining test API specific methods. The solution is to override with web host builder core to return a new instance of your API type. Create a new test API instance that chains the configuration. Huh. I don't think that's what I want to do either. So far, Copilot's not being very helpful here. Let me explore this off to the side real quick. RIP trad coding. What? No, trad coding is wonderful, man. Trad coding's the best. Trad coding's the only way. Claude Code. Yeah, I'm not a Claude Code user myself, but I know a lot of people swear by it. I'm not a big agentic development type person either. I don't really code with AI too much. I like to talk to AI about code and kind of use it as my own personal rubber duck. But I don't tend to just like to let it write the code for me. It kind of feels boring that way. I feel like a bystander. So it's saying we should overload base configure web host, which I did. Then it's saying I should call configuration. Can I really override that? I don't think I can even override that. Let's see, internal override with web host builder 4. Yeah, I don't even think I can override that. You're stupid. I can't override that method. I'm messing, of course. I rubber duck at chatbots too. Yeah, I do like to rubber duck with my chatbots. Let's see. So when does configure web host get called? So create client is what calls it. Okay. So okay, so I kind of was going about this in a dumb way. So what we could do is we could say kept hearing a buzzing. Man, this one's got me so twisted up. So configure web host is actually deferred until we call create client. Okay. So what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I guess what that means is what I could do is I could say with config so the configuration field is set in the constructor to point to configure web host. Okay. Okay, I like this. So let's do this. So we'll say private read-only list of action I web host builder. I like this. So we'll say custom, or let's say additional configs. And then we'll say with config, with additional config, with additional additional. It's a little long of a name, isn't it? With See, but the problem is I don't want this to... See, that's the problem, is I don't want it to hang around for other tests. That's the thing that's the problem. So it can't be... I can't fuck with this instance. Okay. More rubber ducking. More rubber ducking. Okay, so if I add a list of configs to my test API class and add a method to add those configs and then apply the configs on the apply the configs in the configure web host method. That sounds good. However, when doing this in tests, I don't want to mutate the base test API class for other people. It needs to result in a new instance of the test API. It needs to result in a new instance of the test API specific to whoever is calling the with config. Which is why the base web application factory has a delegated web application factory. Okay. You have additional configs. Why is that? Oh, it's just complaining. So we'll say var new test API, like that. Unnecessary assignment of a value. No, I'm going to return it. Return new API. And then we'll say new API dot additional configs dot add add range. Sorry, add range. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a new instance of the test API. We're copying anything that's already been added to this new thing. And then we will also new API dot additional configs, and we'll add the one that it just gave us. And then we'll return the new API. And then here we will apply it. So we'll say for each var config in additional configurations, and we'll do config builder, like that. Yeah, with additional config. I don't know. I don't think I'm happy with that name. I don't think I'm happy with any of those names. But I need to get unblocked. So now the whole point of that was so that I could do this, basically. So I could take these methods and we can lift them. Yeah, we can lift them here, right? And then instead of all this test API nonsense, we just call services, which is a member of this class anyways. Like that. Okay. And then that's going to obviously break everybody when I delete that. So now what we have to do is we actually have to say API.execute async. Let's see, does not contain it doesn't contain a public one. So these are all protected, but these need to be public now. Public. 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 Like this. Good morning, Mark. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I need to go refill my coffee cup. It's getting kind of late in the morning, and I'm out of coffee right now. Okay, so that's going to break everyone, right? Okay, now we have API.execute async. It's interesting because it's interesting. This is interesting because this API refers to a different instance than in my test class. So when we call ensure created on the database, yeah, this is interesting. So this is another problem that I have to solve. But let's see if now we can actually get this test to pass. So now what we would do is instead of doing this, we would say, give me this guy. We call this at the beginning. Oops. Var test API equals, and the whole point of this again, the whole point of this is just so we can freaking mock the queue. It's the whole point of this. Oops. They're mocking the queue. Then we say whb.configure test services. And then we say that, and we say what do we say? Mock queue.object, like that. Which then lets us do this. Okay. then we'd come down here and we say test API create client. So what I was trying to express earlier about the cleanup is now this test API, right? It actually is a completely different one, which is weird. Which means the database really should be cleaned up underneath the API now, not under the integration test lifecycle. I know, now I'm just talking to myself. Well, let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. Are we still angry? Why are we still angry? Oh, yeah, we're still angry because now we have to do test API. Let's see, async lambda conversion to a task returning delegate cannot return a value. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong. All right, so let's jump to the bottom of the file here. We're doing all this silliness. Try to give this, hopefully it doesn't break and blow up. Man, the fact, what will it do? The fact just identifies that method as a test for XUnit. So that's how XUnit figures out what things are tests and what things aren't tests. Oh yeah, because I basically broke everything. I broke everything. Why is everything from billion-dollar companies now Electron wrappers? I mean, I do think a lot of companies use Electron. But I wouldn't say everything's an Electron wrapper, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is that, like, as far as, like, developer skill set, web technologies are pretty pervasive, right? They kind of eat in the world in a lot of ways. So I think that's probably why a lot of people rely on them. What do you mean it doesn't exist in the current context? It literally does exist in the current context. API. This is a painful refactor, if I do say so myself. There's so many places where I use this. And if this doesn't work, I'll be right back to where I started. Excuse me. I really see no reason why Discord should take a gigabyte of RAM. Yeah, I don't know. I try not to have too much judgment on that kind of stuff because I know software is hard, and I'm not the best developer in the world, and so I've probably built things that take too much memory, and I don't know. I'm always hesitant to be too critical of other people's work, you know, just because I understand I don't have the full context of why they may have made the decisions or the trade-offs that they did. Okay, I don't understand why that's not fixing those errors. The name execute async does not exist in the current context. Okay, I gotta go to a bigger window because working in this tiny window is frustrating me. So you're talking about get available tests. Get available tests. Get available tests. API. Oh, you know what? I just thought of a really stupid thing. I don't need to do all this. Well, actually, yes, I do. There's a way I could have avoided having to make all these changes, but it's whatever. Okay, let me see if .NET build fixes it. Okay, that did fix it. I don't know why the errors are still getting reported in VS Code. I don't know why. So now we're going to go to link tests. Now we're saying API.execute async. That's the link test, and now we need get tests. Get tests. Which have the same problem. API. And then connect tests.
Did we just become best friends?
Fran, thank you very much for the sub. Appreciate that. It's very kind of you. All right, one sec. Build again. I mean, a whole ass browser is pretty heavy. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Again, it's like I'm not saying that you guys can't have opinions on this stuff. I'm just saying I'm slow to criticize because if you ask me today to rebuild Discord, I would probably do a shittier job than they have. I'm sure there was reasons, right? Whether it was people reasons or technology reasons, I'm sure there are reasons. That I don't understand. Okay, so we do have it working now. So let's go back into small window mode. I mean, for dev UX, Electron sounds pretty insane. Oh, really? I've never worked with Electron, but I feel like it makes sense if you have a bunch of developers who know web technologies really well, and you also want to browse. You want a web app version of your application, you want a desktop version of your application, and you have developers that know web technologies. Electron sounds like a sensible choice to me. But obviously, again, I don't have all the context. You don't have to learn new stuff. You just do web dev, and then as a byproduct, your app can run on a website natively and a desktop app. Yeah, basically. Yeah, but like that's the thing. Is like D was saying that why are they using Electron, and I'm saying that this seems like a reasonable choice to me. But Sir Steven, do you have any suggestions on how to structure a React project? Since I'm doing PHP at work, back and stuff, and now exploring about the components and stuff. What is it really a reusable components? I mean, can we make something reusable, but what should item we can make reusable and what we can't? I don't think there's a hard and fast rule for that, man. I think it's really a judgment call. Like there's sometimes I've seen React components and I thought those React components could just be a CSS class. So it's like where you draw the line in reusability and component architecture seems to be very dependent on like what you're building and who you're building it for. So if it's your own application, it's kind of arbitrary, right? But if you're building like a design system, for example, maybe it does make sense to have really small components that isolate a bunch of styles to have a link button component, right? So I think it varies. My opinion is probably if you're building a React project, it's a spa, but it's probably going to have routes. Even if it's just a client-side rendered thing, you're probably going to have some sort of client-side routing. So in most cases, my architecture would look like there's some sort of component that represents essentially like a page. Like there's like the highest level component is the thing that you're going to route to is how I would look at it. And maybe there's one level above that, which is like a layout component, which wraps a group of routes, right? So you might want like a layout for public routes and a layout for authenticated, right, or protected routes. But then each route is going to route to some component that essentially represents a page, and then that page is going to compose other smaller components together. So I would guess if something only appears, like if you have something that only appears on one of your routes and nowhere else in your application, it probably doesn't need to be extracted to its own React component, unless there's some, ease of use type of reason. Like maybe you're rendering like a list of cards or something, and so instead of just repeating the card styling and structure again and again in that HTML document, you extract that to like a card item component or something. So I think it's purely taste and opinion, right? I think as long as you have a good reason, like if somebody asks you the question of like, well, why did you do it that way? If you have an explanation, I think that's a good place to start. I think a lot of times we're looking around we're trying to find an explanation to tell us what to do, but sometimes it's okay to just sit down and use your own thoughts to come to a conclusion. And as long as you feel good about defending your thoughts, if somebody was to ask you why did you arrive at the decisions you arrived at, and you can say, well, based on my existing knowledge and experience at the time, here's what I thought. And you might learn something different by the end of it, but like it just seems like there's not really a right answer there. It depends. James, just ask Claude, or you could do that. You could do that as well. You could just ask Claude. As a professional React dev, my biggest recommendation would be to use a state management lib like ZooStand. Okay, well there you go. There's some recommendations there for you, Mark. Native use context is awful in my opinion. I like the context API. The worst part about the context API is the nesting. If you have a shit ton of providers, that's why I still think views provide and inject is pretty baller. Make sure you upload the docs to him and trap him in Rust. Yeah. Yeah, just ask Claude. If you have any questions about life or what you should build or how you should build things, just ask Claude. I mean,
MRK_Manansala is reminding you to hydrate.
oh, thank you. I actually haven't drinking any water. Let's see if all our hard work here paid off. Where were we? We were at the add tests. All right, it failed. Why did it fail? So it looks like we just called async queue a bunch. Let's see, expected invocation on mock once, but was 0 times. Okay. That's interesting. Oh, does this have it? This probably takes a cancellation token, doesn't it? Yep. Okay. That's why. Or I hope that's why. Is any cancellation token? Let's try again. Hey, there we go. Okay. So now let's try the larger test suite and just make sure it all still works. .NET test. And then I don't think I'm terribly happy with my solution that I've come to, but what are you going to do? There's the end-to-end test. Hey, there we go. Awesome. Okay. So we now have a way to further customize our test API, which is wonderful. But now we need to actually use it. So I kind of wish, honestly, so an integration test gets its own initialize async. Now the test API is shared across tests, and we're deleting those databases. Huh. See, this is the one problem I don't like, because I think right now our database is not being deleted by that one test. So if we were to go in here and we were to look, yeah, see, there's a bunch of test DBs that are orphaned. So let's delete all these real quick. And I guarantee if I rerun that test, it's going to pass, but I bet it's not going to delete the database it creates. Yeah, see. Versus the other tests will. So if I run a different test, let's say I run this test. Let's run this one. going to pass. And it doesn't leave an orphan database. And the reason for that is because this API refers to a distinctly different instance. Oh, whoops. Damn it. Why did I do that? Whoopsies. There we go. Wazilab, you're a senior dev by title, right? Yeah, by title. Yeah, my LinkedIn has senior quality in it. But I mean, senior to one person is different than senior to another, right? Like, I'm sure there's like a 20-year-old dev or 20-year dev, right? That also has senior, which is like, okay, we're not the same. Go is awesome. I'm learning Go on a site and it's going pretty well. Although their teaching method is trashed here, I do find myself remembering what code looks like. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I like Go. I had a lot of fun learning Go. I'm a Go fan. Good morning, Lorenz. Good to see you as well. Hope you're doing good. Why do you jump between VS Code and NeoVim? So my NeoVim, my C# setup for NeoVim's kind of wonky at the moment for this project. So I am using the newer Microsoft testing platform called Microsoft.testing.platform. And my NeoVim configuration right now does not support using NeoTest to run the test. So if I try to run an individual test right now, things will not go well. So like if I come down here and say I just want to run this single test, normally I would do leader tr, right? The problem is this won't work because NeoTest doesn't play well with Microsoft.testing.platform, and it will break. So you'll see, if we look at this output here,
Did we just become best friends?
it's angry that it can't do what you asked it to do. So that's why I've been switching over to VS Code to run the test individually. So I can do it over there because VS Code does play with the new platform. Yeah, that's why. It's kind of clunky, but I wanted to use the latest stuff, and my NeoVim configuration doesn't play with the latest stuff very well, or at least in the C# world. Wuzzy XY, thanks for following the channel. Appreciate you. Oh, that's probably the same Wuzzy that was over on YouTube. That's funny. Okay, so what do we need to do then here? I guess we could say, I guess we could go into our test API and we could implement iDisposable or iAsync disposable. Or does it already implement it? Yeah, it must already implement it. So we could do public. We can do something like public async value task or public override. Okay. So we could do await, make this async, call gc.suppress finalize this, and then we could come back to our integration test. Where Where is it? Here. We could essentially copy this logic. Oops. In which case, then it probably makes sense to just have
Did we just become best friends?
Thank you. Following the channel, man. I appreciate that. Yes, move to my PC now. Nice. Very cool. Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's fine. So let's try that. Let's try this now. So let's go back to our bin folder. Where's our bin folder? Let's delete this guy. And let's run it again. Cool. Passes. And then hopefully we don't see an orphaned SQLite file, which I do not see. Oh, we probably should delete these two. Yeah. Cool. So now it looks like we're cleaning up after ourselves, so that's good. And then let's run the test suite one more time, just to make sure. Hello, Greetbot. Oh, no, not Greetbot, Greebot. I like your gigantified emoji. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a nice little helper to do this. So I'm going to create one that says public async task ensure db created async, and then another one that says public async task ensure db deleted async. So then we can just move that up here. We can call that here and say await ensure db deleted. And then we can also copy the logic from this, put it here. And then we can go back to our integration test and just say ensure db deleted async, and do the same thing here. Ensure wait API about ensure create async like that. Now this implements, can't we do, since this is, okay. All right, I'm finally happy with where we're at there. That took a lot of time to refactor all that stuff, but I think that's better. I think that gives us better control for now. Until we have to do something different. All right, so back to the sinker tests. Infra, well, let's just do tests in general. Infra API. Refactor to allow further config of test API. There we go. All right, so where were we? we were trying to write a test for, I think, the plaid transaction sinker is what we were originally trying to write a test for. So let's open up. First, let's reset. Let's do this. And let's close those. And then let's open up plaid transaction sinker. Okay. So this has 3 dependencies. A iLogger, a plaid transaction service, and a plaid transaction processor. So we'll say private read only. This is going to be a mock of iLogger of type plaid transaction sinker. So mock logger equals new. Good morning, Bob. I kept checking for streams earlier. I thought you were skipping today. No, I woke up late. That's my fault, Bob. That's my bad. Have to go to school now. Have to go now. Have school tomorrow. Totally get it, man. Get your sleep in. Hope you have a great day tomorrow. Yeah, I woke up late, Bob, so that's why I'm streaming right now. That's my bad. Mock plaid transaction service. Mock plaid service. You deserve to sleep in on a Sunday. No bad here. Yeah, well, that's always the concern, is that somebody has woken up early to hang out with me on stream and then I oversleep. So I try not to do it, but this morning it happened. iPlaid transaction processor. Hey, yo, first time I managed to find you online streaming. All good? Yeah, all's good. Yeah. No, I'm here most days. I'm not usually here at this time of day, though, at 9. I'm not usually here at 9 a.m. my time. But yeah, I'm here most days on YouTube streaming. YouTube and Twitch. From about 4:50, so about 4:15 Central Standard Time, a.m. Central Standard Time, to about 7 a.m. is normally when I'm online streaming. But glad you're here, man. This is going to be the system under test. dot object dot object dot object, and then these need to be named correctly. Now everybody's happy. I think everyone's happy. Invalid. Oh, yeah. Okay, now what are you unhappy about? Is inaccessible due to its protection level? What's it? Oh, yeah. This will be plaid transaction syncer dot from. Now everyone's happy. 2 late streams in a row. Steven's losing his edge. I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I got a long time. I got a long road ahead of me, you know? I got 20 years of a career left, and I plan to just keep making content through all of it. So I figure, you know, a late stream every now and again is not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things. Crazy schedule. It's just when you got kids and a wife and a job and stuff, you know, it's hard to find multiple hours of uninterrupted time to sit in front of a computer and work on your own projects. So waking up early is the best way to get it done for me. Time changed too, definitely worth sleeping in. The time did change, and this is the worst time change because you lose an hour. Let's see. Yep, but I'm from Italy. Nice. Yeah, I'd like to visit Italy one day. I've never been to Europe. Maybe one of these days. Kurtz, what happened yesterday though? Oh, so yesterday, Friday night, where I live in Kansas, and I live in an area in Kansas in kind of the, so if you're familiar with the U.S. geography, there's kind of the 4 states region, which is Kansas, Missouri, or 4 states for me, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma all sit in kind of a border, you know, all sit with their corners touching, and there's a corridor along a highway. Actually, let me pull up a map. I don't know why I'm trying to describe this. There's a corridor of the country called Tornado Alley here in the United States. That looks like this. Oops. Zoom in. So I live like right here. Right's about here. I think. Maybe right's about here, maybe? But I grew up down here. And so like there's a highway, I-44 is an interstate that runs like along this, and we get really bad tornadoes that come through here because of, obviously, it's showing the mixtures of air and the weather. And so Friday night we were having bad thunderstorms, so my family and I, we all slept in our basement. It was me, my wife, and my sons. And my office is right next to our basement, so I didn't want to wake up at 4:15 a.m. on Saturday morning and just start, you know, talking out loud in a room by myself and wake them up. So that's why I streamed yesterday afternoon. Which I'm guessing might happen more often as we get into the springtime, because that's when storm season happens here. So as we get into the spring and summer months, that might be a more of a regular occurrence. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Oh, I see. Hope everyone is okay. Yeah. We didn't get any tornadoes. We just got thunderstorms, rain, lightning, thunder. But there was, apparently in Oklahoma, there was a fatality. I think I saw on the news. Oklahoma tornado fatality. Yeah, there was a mother and a daughter, I think. There was a mother and a daughter. They were driving, and they got hit by a tornado, unfortunately, and were killed. Just too bad. It's crazy, man. The Mother Nature likes to remind us how little we are, you know? It's pretty wild. Yeah, it is. It's super awful. It's super awful. Yeah, super sad. Is it like hella often? It is in the spring. Yeah, in the spring and summer months, we get thunderstorms all the time. And basically, almost every storm comes with the possibility. I mean, it seems like it. I know there's probably statistics on it, but like anytime you get kind of cold air and warm air mixing or have a temperature change or anything like that, typically there's the likelihood of having pretty volatile storms. My wife follows the weather way more than I do, and she knows way more about it than I do know about it. But ever since I was little, I mean, having tornado drills in school, like everybody practices tornado drills as part of your public education experience. So it's a pretty wild phenomenon. Got to move away. Yeah, I mean the thing is like where do you move in the world where there's not some sort of natural, it's like if you go to California, you got earthquakes. If you go to the Northeast, you're dealing with blizzards and stuff. You go to the mountains, snow, avalanche, blizzard. Maybe the Pacific Northwest might be okay. If you go in the South, then you got to deal with hurricanes. If you go in Florida or Georgia or the Carolinas, you're dealing with hurricanes. There's just oh well, the USA. Oh, okay, yeah. well, I don't know if any other countries will accept Americans now. What's the drill? Just get underground type of deal? Yeah, in the schools, it used to be go in the hallways. But like most schools, most buildings have some sort of like this is our designated tornado shelter area. You're supposed to just find like preferably a place where there's no windows and you're surrounded by interior walls. I mean, some people don't even have a good place. Like when we lived in our apartment before this house, we didn't have a basement, so we would have to go to my father-in-law's house, or we'd have to go to our friend's house and stay in their basement because we didn't have any places to go. But yeah, there's lots of people like that don't really have a designated place. Is it like Twister? Essentially, I've never been in a tornado myself. Like I've been lucky that I have never had to experience that, but there are definitely people who have had a Twister-like experience for sure. You go in the Appalachian Mountains and there's Wendigos. You can't really escape it, can you? Earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, blizzards, and volcanoes all in one country. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Let's see. How's the Physical S project coming? It's coming. It's been slow the last couple weeks. I've really gotten bogged down in testing, and I haven't done a good job working on it outside of the stream. So I haven't made as much progress as I would like to, but my hope would be that I can get it deployed, I don't know, within the next week or so. I'd like to get the project deployed out to my server to start testing the functionality in like a very small scale, because I want to figure out how much it's going to cost me. Like I'd like to wire up like 1 or 2 accounts and start seeing how much I use the Plaid API to see like how much usage I'm actually going to end up having to pay for. So that's probably my goal, is to try to get things wrapped up in the next week or so to a point where it's deployable. I just need to do a better job of making time to work on it when I'm not streaming, which is a challenge because I have work stuff and then I get sidetracked on other things, and just need to do a better job focusing on it. Let's see. We need to test the sync transactions for accounts. Sync transactions for accounts. I'm just going to copy that because I'm not going to remember that. It should do so. I will admit I'm kind of hungry. I'm kind of wanting some bacon and some more coffee. Bob, you can do that before finishing tests, right? Yeah, for sure I could do that. Yeah. I was just hoping to get to a place where I had some tests in place that made me feel confident about the logic I've written, because right now I'm not super confident about all the logic I've written. It does work when I test it manually, but obviously it would be nice to have a set of automated tests. I haven't followed it from the beginning. Are you following some sort of scrum board for it? And do you handle a double entry engine in it? No, I don't do double. That's actually one of the reasons to build this, is to get away from doing double entry accounting, because I currently use YNAB. It's called ynab.com, and they do double entry accounting, and I understand the value of it, but it's just too complicated for what I need. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I just want to basically have like a spreadsheet that has a list of every transaction in all my accounts, and I just want to make sure at the end of the month more shit has flowed in than shit that has flowed out. That's all. You know what I mean? That's all I want to do. And I just want to be able to categorize my spending. So that was one of the reasons for building this, is to just get away from that complexity, which is kind of funny. Bob, you know what's good at writing automated tests so you can do the fun part? Well, Bob, now that you say that, I do know what's good at that. But at the catch-22 there is the fun part for me is kind of writing the test. I enjoy this part of it. I know, which is wild. I know it's a wild thing to say, but I do kind of enjoy it. As far as following the Scrum board, I'm not following the Scrum board. I'm just kind of making it up as we go. I did write out a little bit of the functionality we wanted. So I kind of have like a list of some features, and I have some initial thoughts that we kind of prototyped when we were thinking about what we were going to build. But I'm not really working from a Scrum board or anything. I'm just kind of like, I'm doing the plotting engineer thing where I just kind of solve whatever the next little problem is and just implement the next little bit of functionality I want and try to enjoy myself while I'm doing it. I have an initial screening interview next week at a place that would presumably pay me like 2 to 3x more than I get now. I'm getting hella imposter syndrome over it. Any advice on that? I think imposter syndrome is completely normal. I guess what I would remind you is, whenever you go into an interview, or at least the way I look at it when you go into an interview, is you're not trying to be something you're not. Right? I think that's a lot of the anxiety of interviews. You show up and you want to be what they want, right? But sometimes it's hard to be what they want, right? And like, you don't really necessarily know even what they want. So I think it's important when you show up for an interview that you just be who you are, and you show them, like, this is the way I work, these are the things I know about, this is the stuff I've done. But don't try to like portray yourself to be something you're not, or portray yourself to have skills or education or knowledge that you don't. I think that alleviates a lot of the anxiety. At least it does for me. I have a theory about the use of AI that I'd like your thoughts on. Yeah, shoot, Richie Rose. Go for it, man. D98956, my mom. D, if your mom is great at writing automated tests, that's pretty baller. Let's see, makes sense. I had to work with a double entry engine, and I thought of rewriting it as an event sourcing arc so I can show projections and handle the hard part so I can get max flexibility. Nice. Yeah, I've never implemented a double entry engine, and it's more complicated than probably what I need for my simple use case. I'm basically, the way I manage my finances, you could 100% get away with it just using a spreadsheet. But the problem is I don't want to do all the I don't want to manually enter the transactions, nor do I want to manually enter the balances of the accounts. I just want that data to flow from the source. Like, I just want to use whatever my bank accounts have in it. I just want that to come to me, and I just want to stick it in my own database. And so that's what I'm trying to really build. Is it's almost like an aggregator. That's really the primary use case. Is like, it's aggregating everything into a single pane of glass, and I'll add a little bit of functionality to like add categorization, but the aggregation is for me is really what's valuable. So I don't have to log into I don't have to log into my checking and my savings and my my Vanguard account and my retirement account, my wife's retirement account. I can just bring it all into one place. Bob, I thought about that. You can flip it. Pair program with the AI. You write the failing test, AI implements. Yeah, but I kind of like fussing over the implementation, as you saw this morning. Bob, you could probably make a Plaid to Google Sheets connector. That would be cool. That sounds like a fun project. Yeah, I don't know where I would start with that, but that sounds like a fun project too. I want to say there might be a service out there that I've seen that before. Something like Google Sheet. I feel like I've seen a service like that before out there. Google Sheets, finance, or sorry, like bank account connector or something. I forget the name of it. It works for Google Sheets and Excel. Oh, it looks like other people have implemented it. There's one right there. Bank account to Sheets Google App Script. Oh, I guess not anymore. Oh, they were using Plaid too. That's cool. Wonder why they archived it. Currently, this only supports one access token, so you can only grant access to one institution. Oh, that's lame. Huh. I wonder why he archived it. Probably just got tired of people asking questions. Got bored and moved on. Classic open source. Got bored, didn't finish. Let's see. Budget sheet. This looks like there's some actual companies around this. Budget sheet. Oh, that's for Workspace. Man, I feel like there was some other product. It was something like there was some other product, and I can't remember the name. It'll come to me. It'll come to me at some point. Just out of plain curiosity, where are you at in the U.S.? I'm in Kansas. So if you know where Kansas City is, I mean, I'm never very confident of how familiar other people are with U.S. geography. But if you know where Kansas is, that's the state. And then if you know where Kansas City is, which is kind of the biggest metro area to where we live, I live in Kansas. I live in Kansas City, essentially. I mean, if you're from Kansas City and I said that I live in Kansas City, you'd be like, no, you don't live in Kansas City, you live in the suburbs. But if you don't live in Kansas City, then that's the best way to say it. Maybe it was so effective he retired early, so he archived it. Dude, if it was that effective, I'm jealous. I'm super fucking jealous. Yeah, I mean, if you guys have any business ideas, I will happily steal your business ideas. If you have any business ideas that you think can make a lot of money very quickly, like, please let me know. I'll happily steal them. Vibe code my way out of working. TFYG Shotley. I don't know what you're spamming into the chat there. Just random emojis. James VS Code Fork. That's how Cursor did it, huh? That's how they did it. Shot the pool. I don't know what you're saying, man. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm confused. Alright. My focus is gone. I'm hungry now. I want breakfast. Bro might be a bot or a kid. Yeah, that's all right. He's not doing anything harmful. I had chili ramen for Purdue. Chili ramen sounds good. I think I want eggs. I think I want eggs and bacon. I had last night for dinner. I had eggs with like home style potatoes. That was pretty good. Maybe I'll make more of that. I got to go to the grocery store today too. That's what I want for Steven. Instead of I've got 20 more years making money through businesses and coding, so we streams through the day. Oh, that would be pretty baller. Well, I appreciate you wanting that for me, Bob. I want the same things. I appreciate you rooting for me. Maybe I'll come up with something. Maybe the more I spend time writing code and the more I spend time thinking about problems I can solve, I'll eventually come up with some idea that I can build and sell to people. Slowly but surely. That'd be pretty baller. Could physical OS become a product? I don't think so. I mean, it does. It wouldn't become a product that I would host. It's too sensitive, like too much risk, too much legality, right? Too many lawyers. Financial data is so sensitive, right? I could definitely sell like the Docker containers and stuff, like here's how to get your Plaid account set up and here's how to configure your keys. Here's a deployment guideline, right? I could do stuff like that and sell that, but I really wouldn't want to be responsible for their data or any of the complexities of managing other people's data.
Steven looking big.
Yeah. Slowly but surely. All right, chat. Well, as you can tell, I've kind of I've stopped coding for the morning. Yeah. I'll probably work on this a little bit more today, but I'm hungry. Y'all got anything else before we wrap up? I don't have anything else. Go work out too. That's another thing I can go do. Eat breakfast, work out, kiss my wife, hug my kids. Second stream later. That'd be fun. Maybe. I don't know. It depends. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes in the afternoons and the evenings, I kind of feel like just getting into flow, Maybe though. Is software dead? I don't think it is. I know a lot of people do. I know there's a lot of people that think like in the future we're going to live in a world that's all mediated by LLMs and everyone will just generate UIs and software on the fly to take care of every task and solve every problem. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily believe that's the truth myself, but what are you going to do? Samuel, what did you do the F# yesterday? I fell asleep. So I did start an F# project. I don't know how much time or attention I'm going to give it, but I did start working on an expense tracker. Although I never quite got my NeoVim F# setup figured out. But I do think I'll spend a little bit of time, dabbling, experimenting, seeing how F# looks. I didn't get very far with it though. I mean, as you can see from the code that I have written here. But it's definitely an interesting language. It's very different than anything I've ever written or worked with to date, I feel like. But oh, look, there we go. We got IntelliSense. So it is set up properly. I don't know what. Awesome, cool. And the formatter works. Very cool. I wonder, do they have a formatter for this? Oh yeah, right here. Namespace. So there's the FS autocomplete. I guess I need to figure out how to wire up the formatter. Yeah, we'll probably tinker with that a little bit on and off stream. Do you know any plugin that gives the same tab cursor like in NeoVim? What's the? Well, I'm not sure I know, Sam. I'm not sure I know what you mean by tab cursor. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Good afternoon or good morning, Buffer. Good to see you. F# was just OCaml in disguise. That's funny. I took a discrete optimization class, and the person with the best solutions wrote them all in OCaml. Interesting. So maybe OCaml needs to go on the list of things to try. Oh, I just realized that I was showing you that code and you couldn't see my screen. I'm such an idiot. This was the F# we wrote. Good morning, Butterscotch. Yes, long time no see indeed. Long time no see indeed. Tab completion in cursor ID. Okay, so I've never used cursor, but I use for tab completion in NeoVim, which I don't use a ton anymore. I just use the Copilot plugin. So like right there, that's Copilot. Although I don't understand why it's just constantly checking. Every time I make an edit, it's interrupting me. It's blocking. So I don't have something wired up correctly. But yeah, I just use the Copilot plugin is what I use. Huh. Never had that experience before. LSP info. Adaptive LSP server enabled, huh? Need to fix that. But in any event. Yes, Copilot has a NeoVim plugin, like Bob said. Do you think learning a stack and finding a job is legit? I think it's legit, yeah. I think there's tons of people in the world that have done that and proven that it's legit. I don't want to learn math. I don't think math is a huge component of what most programmers do every day. There's definitely subsets of programming or coding where math is important, but I don't think that it's a huge part of the job, in my opinion. I love anti-gravity because you get Claude API usage and it's not Nerf Claude. Interesting. Yeah, I've not tried anti-gravity, but I'm glad that you have found some AI tools that you enjoy. I use anti-gravity agent manager and NeoVim. Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm glad. I just want people to find tools that they like and enjoy and that they're fired up about and get them excited to code. And if that's agentic stuff, great. If not, no worries. You know, you do you. I think math just enhances your problem-solving skills. Fair enough. I think a lot of things, though, will enhance your problem-solving skills. Good morning, Gun Highs. Happy Women's Day, Steven. Is today really Women's Day? Shit, I need to go upstairs and hug and kiss my wife and tell her Happy Women's Day. Women's Day 2026. I had no idea this was a thing. International Women's Day. Shows that I'm not a friend to the feminists, I guess. Which I am. I just didn't know it wasn't Women's Day. It's a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. Well, wonderful. Well, yes, happy Women's Day to you all as well. treat the women in your life today well, or actually treat them well every day, not just on a holiday. To be frank, I didn't know either. Yeah, I didn't know. Yo, bro, what the fuck? You didn't know? Right off you go. Kiss her. Make her coffee at least. Yeah, she doesn't drink coffee though. She doesn't do well with stimulants. So I'll just make her. I guess make her some breakfast. Instead of exercising, I just tell AI the workouts I want to do, and it does them for me. You are living the dream, Bob. You're living the dream. Do you know how much money, if somebody could create that, you know how much money they would make? You look at GLP-1s. You think GLP-1s may have made a lot of money? That could make a lot of money. That's our AI startup. Okay. Go. Now, everybody. Start building. I don't want to pay for the AI, though. So you guys, you guys pay for the AI and build it. And then I will go pitch it for you. That's pretty fucking funny, man. All right, chat. I'm out of here. I'm hungry. I want coffee. I'll be back tomorrow, though. And I will be at the normal time. I'm sorry. I got off schedule here. Oh, I do want to give you guys a heads up. I am going, my kid's spring break is next week. Not this coming week, but the week after, the week of the, what is that? The week of the 16th. And we are traveling. So I don't know how much I'll be around the week of the 16th. I probably need to sit down and think about that. I need to ask my brother. We're going to visit my brother and his family. So maybe they have a spot that I could stream from there in the mornings. I don't know. I'll keep you guys updated on that. But there's a chance that the week of the 16th there won't be very many streams. Just a heads up. Right, I'll build a spam filter. It's perfect starting point of AI ML. Go for it. Go for it. Oh no, you're going? Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go have breakfast, drink some coffee. All right, chat. If you're new here and you want to come back and hang out in the future, the best place to find us is live on Twitch or YouTube every morning from 4:15 to 7 a.m. In the morning. That's Central Standard Time. I'll put my schedule there in the chat. If you'd like to hang out or chat outside of stream, you can find us in our Discord. It's just discord.stephenfreeborn.com, and I put that link in the chat as well. You too, Delusional Deb. You have a great day. Bye, Steven. Kiss your wife from me too. Happy Women's Day. No, I'm not taking a kiss from you to my wife, Gun. You got to find your own wife. See you, Bob. Have a good day. Bye, James. Done. Project created. See? That's the miracle of AI. See you, Butterscotch. Let's see. Is there anybody else? Bye, Sam. Sam Mirel. I think that's how you say your name. See you, Buffer. All right. I think that's everybody that was here recently. Bye, guys. Bye. See you, chat. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.